Hey, everybody. Are you guys familiar with Tom Leveen?
Nope.
The amazing writer Tom
yes.
Leveen? Yes?
We were just hanging out.
Oh, amazing. Maybe I should feel like I should do this. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Let's do this. Hey, everybody. Tom Leveen is on the main stage right now.
Woo-hoo.
The amazing writer Tom Leveen is on the main stage. Come on outside.
Yay! It's
Nice.
Penti-Con time.
Penti-Con 2023.
I should just start laying down my resume. Maybe that'll get them. Like, I did this.
Hold on. So let's talk about that real quick.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Because well, let's be clear. You're Tom Leveen. I'm
Tom
PJ.
Leveen.
I'm PJ from the Retrologists. I do live streams for many different Comic-Cons in particular, and Penti-Con is one of them. I love hanging out and chatting with people, and you're a people.
Yeah, I am a people. You're a people
So
too.
let's chat.
I'm a people. You're a people. It's okay. You can.
Oh
It's
yeah.
okay. It's all right.
Come on up. Family first every single time.
This is
Family
the
first.
advantage.
Yeah, so good.
Apparently, my face was on a billboard.
I didn't see it, but I did know that it was there.
We haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah.
But we were looking for it. That's a little.
Is
that's
it
a bit
too?
much.
Is it too much?
I got a text. So I'm over at University of British Columbia,
Yeah.
and my student cohort sent me. It just lit up one day. I said, "Why are you on a billboard?" I was like, "Because I'm cool."
I'm
I
kind of
know.
a big deal right now.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Not many people are on billboards, so if you can get on at least one in your lifetime,
For something good,
I think you made it. Oh, that's a good point.
you got to be careful what you got it on for.
I couldn't agree more.
But yeah.
Just don't be on very specific websites, but I got you
Yes,
covered.
exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Full disclosure,
Okay.
I may get a phone call in the next 2 minutes because
Okay.
Amazon's coming to my door and my wife ordered some stuff.
Oh
It's
my
a
God.
very good possibility I have to let the person in. And typically I don't look at my phone all the time, but it's going to ring through and you're probably going to be saying something brilliant and I'm going to interrupt you. So it's gonna be
Probably. But if I'm not, I can blame it. I was saying something brilliant, and then your phone.
on my
So,
on
like,
my wife,
that'll
Tanya.
work.
Yeah.
I will totally blame her.
If she's watching the live stream. Let's do a quick rundown, Tom, because this bio that I saw in here
Mhm.
is really crazy
It is
because it uses the word apropos.
not something you encounter every
No,
day.
not at all. There's certain things I have to instantly Google, and I didn't because I just like the idea of not knowing that word how that's applied. It's totally good. So you're a writer, 5 issues of comic book series was Spawn with Todd McFarlane.
Yeah,
That's a huge deal. That's
it
huge.
is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
And it was awesome.
Let's get back to that
Okay.
because let's see, you earned your blue belt, cool, Kempo.
Yep.
But as a musician myself, you played guitar,
I owned guitars.
you owned guitars. I'm sure there's a great delicate balance, creativity in with playing guitar versus
Yeah.
writing. Do you find other outlets when writing balances you out? And I just thought maybe that was one of
Yeah.
them.
No, that's a good question. I think yes, absolutely. No, when I give myself a trouble for saying I'm not a musician. I'm not a musician.
Sure.
But can I play guitar? Yeah, I play guitar.
Cool.
And I've played in bands, which was cool. And I've even played out with bands, which is if you're not a musician and somebody who does that a lot is just the coolest thing ever. Like to be on stage with your friends and just cranking out some punk rock, like that's
Cool.
really cool.
Punk's
you know?
where it's at.
It
Yeah.
is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but it's a totally different type of creativity than a comic book or a novel for sure.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm a drummer. I was playing a show. Oh, ladies and gentlemen,
Amazon's
Amazon
here.
has
Whoa.
arrived.
Tell them we said hi.
Amazon's arrived. Hello. Oh, yes, come on in. Yes.
Something brilliant. Something brilliant.
Done. My job is done.
Brilliant.
Full
And
focus
that's
on you.
how I was brilliant. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you miss that?
That's how we do. We did, sadly.
I just said something
no,
brilliant.
I was going to say, as a drummer, I even played a show until late last night. Midnight
God.
last night I got in today.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting, but
Yes.
I imagine the writing process, same deal. When you're on stage or you're in a mode, you're going all the way through.
Yeah.
And how do you stay in focus while you're writing?
That's a zone thing. It's like
Right.
a very zen flow state, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
And with music, you gotta, for me, for someone again who it doesn't come naturally to, I can't afford to look and see what's going on. I gotta be right here watching my fingers. Like,
Yeah.
wait, is that the E minor? Oh my God. But with writing, it's an even more, for me, it's a higher state of flow, which I wouldn't have said years ago, I don't think. But the older I get, the more I recognize it and embrace it and enjoy it, because that's why I keep doing it. You're looking for that. It's almost like a high. It's like a beat where you're like, oh my God, when you figure something out for the first time, and it's just, oh, I gotta pull over and write that down or whatever, because it's the best part of the whole thing, for sure.
You're hitting the right thing there in regards to, and I'm sure a lot of people here can empathize that on your first hurdle, let's take it down to young Tom here. Old young Tom, writing your first, they always say it takes a lifetime to, in this case, lifetime to write your first album and 1 year to write your second album.
Oh my God. Yes.
So does that apply to writing?
My first book that I was working on took 19 years, and it was my second published novel. Okay. But the first one, it was like a year. And then, anyway, it does that. It does that because nobody tells you that, though. When you're coming up and you have this freedom to work on your novel, to do whatever, and you're like, wee, and you're having a great time. And then it sells to Random House, and you're like, I've made it. And then your editor says, when's the next one? And you're like, the what? Yeah. Oh, okay. And so now it's Johnny on the spot time.
100%.
Yep.
Do you find that within that first year, you got to come up with more efficient ways of doing all the things that you did for 19 years?
Yes.
If you have to find more efficient ways to establish that.
Yeah. It's not the same process. Once you're in the groove of whether it's professional or independent, doesn't really matter. You've got to get in that zone faster and turn things around more quickly. You have to find ways to do that, whether it's outlining or just having the space to do stuff and let that stuff come to the fore.
What was your very first thing? By the way, if anybody has any questions, you can tee them up, and we'll hit to that in a second.
Yeah.
But what was your first hurdle? What was your first accomplishment where you felt like you did something? And my wife just sent a photo. It wasn't Amazon, it was Starbucks. Wow,
oh
Tanya, she just ordered Starbucks.
Really? We're up here working, and you're ordering Starbucks.
She's ordering.
Like we're all waiting for the Amazon and Starbucks.
First hurdle that you felt like you actually were like, this is frame worthy on a wall.
For me personally, like my take. So the first one was so I started writing in second grade, and then I wrote a novella in 8th grade, so 30,000 words or something. Whoa. And my teachers took it and printed it and then did the spiral binding thing and then sent me off to Arizona State University for a young authors conference. I don't even know how that happened.
Grade 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And I was like, oh, sweet. And then because I hated the school, I didn't get a yearbook, but I took my book and I handed that around to my friends and they all signed it. And I still have that to this day.
That is brilliant.
That's my wall, I would say.
Wow, there's something to be said about, yearbooks are cool. It's got everybody's photos in it, but your accomplishment that you did throughout that process, having everybody sign it, that should actually just be a thing.
It should be. It absolutely should be. That should be the new thing.
Really good.
Moving forward, yeah.
But also at grade 8, that's quite a place where you get sprungboard into, you did something cool, now continue doing it.
Yes.
And I realize, young Tom, you want to go to outer space and be an astronaut, but instead, we think you should sit behind a desk with a typewriter. How do you feel about that?
I feel great. Exactly, right? I feel wonderful.
Did you have your life in kind of a different trajectory at a young age? Or did you really feel like your family honed you in, or you had good people around you to keep you on task?
I did have good people. I wasn't a good student. I was the last kid of 7. Whoa. And a Gen X on top of it. So my parents were out. They checked out when I was born. So I was just, woo, I did whatever I wanted to do.
Freedom.
It was great.
I was firstborn. There was way more weight on me.
Sorry, dude. So youngest, we get away with everything. And so I did. I got away with absolutely everything. And I didn't like the school. I was bullied and all that kind of stuff. But there were also a couple of teachers who were like, wait a minute, he's really good at this. Let's push a little. I also made my quote unquote first movie in 8th grade. We had a VHS video camera, and one of my teachers had a giant VHS editing bay. Yeah. And we shot a movie, like improvised this horror movie, and we got to edit it at like 7th hour for a few weeks. And I will never forget that. Like you didn't have to do that.
Toaster.
Yes. Oh God.
Yes.
But they didn't have to let me do that, but they did.
Yeah.
And I'm eternally grateful for that.
There's something to be said. You hit a really soft spot there. There's something to be said about the fact that if you're going to do nerdy things, there's a sense of bullying that happens, yes, but you do feel a bit of an outcast because you're doing something that the norm isn't doing in the school. When you're going to the editing bay after school and everybody's going to pep rallies and doing stuff, but you passionately love it, staying focused and excited about it is hard, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, absolutely is. But the joy of seeing my professional goal right now is to get back to that kid. I want to be 12-year-old Tom again because that dude had it dialed in.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. You want to help? No? Peace out. How about you? You want to help? Great. Come with me. That was the mindset. And it wasn't about money. It wasn't about publishing or it was just, can I finish this product and then show it to somebody? Yes? Great. Let's do that. And I would give anything to be able to have that mindset again. It would change my career.
I feel like you do that with your child. I see
trying to.
You're trying to.
Okay, so for example, he plays Roblox, right? I don't know much about Roblox, but he plays Roblox.
Yeah.
And using
Roblox.
And he has figured out how to record it as he's playing and then upload it and edit it and put it onto YouTube. And he's getting hundreds of hits.
How old is he?
He's 12.
Yeah, that's the age.
Right? I'm like, I've been on YouTube for 10 years, dude.
Meta?
Nothing.
No.
But they just know, and they have access to those resources.
Nobody wants to see these guys. How do you internet? I do not know. Yes. Yeah, there's a technique to it, but also a flow that technology, like native to that technology now.
But we encourage that 100%. Like, dude, because it didn't used to be, and I think a lot of adults still to this day, despite it being 2023, you can't make a living on YouTube. And no, you can.
Yeah.
It's just as hard as anything else.
Yeah.
But you absolutely can. Go for it, man. Yeah. We'll support that.
And we'll talk about it in a sec, but even the marketing end of things. As a grown adult, how do you get your name out there? Actually, we'll talk about it now. Go for it.
That's a great question.
We're going on tangents, then we'll get to some questions. Go for it. Yeah.
No, I wish I had a great answer for that, and I don't because I'm still learning the marketing. I do think we ought to lean into organically whatever we're good at. So I'm a theater kid, so being up here and doing this, cool. Let's do that. Let's go. Let's teach panels and do all that kind of stuff. I probably have better success doing this exact thing than I'm ever going to have on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. I'll still try those because you have to. But the more I do what I'm good at and find a way to incorporate it, that's usually the better thing, I think, for most artists. If you're not comfortable, I have a student who is not comfortable with social media. I'm like, then let's not do that. You're going to spend 20 years. You're going to waste your time. Let's find out what you're good at and do that and bring your readers in that way.
That resonates hard. Did you have a question? No question? Oh, no question. We got a full crowd here. So we're just hanging out.
We're just hanging out.
I like it. The marketing end of things, yes to all of that. I wanted to go down one other place here.
Yeah, let's do it.
We talked about where you were beginning. In your mid-range life, is that even a term?
Sure.
In your middle life?
Yes.
And you got a 40-year degree.
It was more of a 40. Yeah, it took a while.
It feels that way.
It took a while.
I see here you spent a total of 9 years in the public library work. That resonates hard with me. That's what my wife does. She works in the library system. She's a library tech. Is what she does.
Nice. That's the job.
Super, right? Yeah. She loves to read, and she's married like quietly, and I'm a drummer, so we're quite the opposite. But being within your realm of love, I see the challenges that my wife goes through in regards to bringing work home, being surrounded by books, and then being focused to write books.
Yeah.
And yes.
So first of all, I think the important thing here to differentiate, and I'm not super familiar with how it is in Canada or BC, but the States are having a hell of a time with libraries right now, with people banning books, burning, like literally flamethrowers, burning books in fields and stuff like that. So there's a big
censorship.
I hope there's a big difference between our two experiences with any luck.
Yes.
Because that's just maddening to be part of that. So there's that element. But for me, depending on what the job was, like she's got the perfect job. Library tech is great because you're just in your little place and you get to be at the books and it's awesome. Being a page is great because you're just shelving books 4 or 5 hours at a time. And it goes back to that flow state because you get so many cool ideas. Oh, I could do that. And then, wait a minute, Romeo and Juliet meets Macbeth. I could write that as you're just doing your thing. So for me, it's been useful to be in the library, and it's not the same as a bookstore because there's no money changing hands. I'm just like, read books, yay, and getting to be a part of that. So it's great.
I'm super happy you said that because she worked at Chapters for years, and there's a big difference between Chapters or wait, what's the US version of Chapters?
Oh, probably Barnes and Noble.
Maybe Barnes and Noble.
Or
Yeah, that sounds right.
Something like that.
But yeah, chapters, and then literally being in a library, there's a huge difference. You
Big
have the casualness. You don't have to deal with necessarily patrons, exchanging money, the small talk, all those type of things that sometimes a lot of introverts certainly battle. But finding the inspiration as every book that you put up.
Oh yeah.
Is like an idea percolating.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And you going back to the marketing thing, there's an element of the marketing advantage there too, because I'm at the desk checking people out and I'm seeing literally what people are interested in.
Great.
And as you're looking at those records like this weeding, which is heartbreaking, but you got to weed books sometimes and discover like this book hasn't been checked out in 10 years. Like, oh yeah.
Yeah. The library system certainly has a hard time with marketing.
They suck at it
big time.
They are handcuffed by, I can say this because I don't work here, they are handcuffed by the municipality. Like they can't. Now there's one guy I've seen on Instagram, can't remember his name, Michael something, who apparently I hope has been given permission to do whatever he wants, and he's glorious.
In what way?
And I think he's a librarian, but he gets on every single day and just post these lovely, encouraging things about reading and about the library, about people he meets. And we're allowed to do that where I come from. And it's awful because, listen, you don't fall into library work. This is a path you choose.
True.
And we like being here. Let us tell people about it. And then the city comes in. No. So they do have a huge marketing problem because they do not trust their employees, I think, in my opinion.
There's a lot of different personalities that happen in
that's true.
that. Yeah.
Very true.
Quick side, we're chatting with Mr. Tom Leveen here, writer for Spawn series. And what else is your highlight here really quick?
Spawn with Todd McFarlane several years ago, published with Random House and Simon & Schuster, horror and YA primarily. Also, currently we're doing some work for BattleTech, which is super cool.
Rad.
Yeah.
That's cool.
15-year-old me. Yeah, it's really awesome.
Your writing's awesome. Your drawing is probably even better.
My drawing is superb. Bow before me. If anybody needs to see my art, please come to the table. It's not for sale.
Well,
far too expensive.
So what I was going to say is there's a fine line. If there's any writers out there, what is the importance of being able to draw your ideas as much as write your ideas?
I do not see a lot of overlap for myself
because
I'm a terrible artist. So I don't.
Okay, for those who we did a sketch prompt stream on Thursday night, and Tom joined us, and his drawings were epic.
That's a really fun way to put that. Epic is.
They were actually pretty good in comparison to like the 3-year-olds that we had on there.
Yes, I smashed them. I crushed those 3-year-olds.
But the drawing aspect, you can at least, to be absolutely honest, you can still convey ideas within frames. You could storyboard your ideas to whatever artist you're working with.
Yeah.
Do you find that's an important thing that maybe somebody should get into at least the basics of drawing to go with their writing? Or is that even important?
No, it depends on what they want to do. If you're interested in comic books, but you're not an artist, that's okay. And this is the beautiful thing about the era in which we are living is there's nothing stopping you. Absolutely nothing. You can jump on Fiverr and find an artist in Indonesia for $10 a page and go make your comic book. Then why wouldn't you? Or you can Kickstart it, or both. That's what I'm doing right now. Same thing. I'm not an artist. I can't do panel work, but like you're talking about, I can sketch some stuff real quick and give it to somebody in Italy or whatever, and be like, can you do this but make it cool? Yeah. So I think if you're into comic books, you have to learn a little piece about that. If you're mostly focused on like novels and that kind of thing, it's less important. But much like the music that we talked about, I think any kind of creative expression that you can learn is going to help your art, help your focus, I think.
Yeah, that resonates. That whole angle of drawing, at least conveying your message in one way or another. Yes,
message conveyance. Because you would do the same thing with a guitar or singing or drums.
Yeah.
You can hit those drums, do your kit in one way or the other, and then have two very different responses on an emotional level. So, I think it's all connected for sure.
Have you, let's talk about Todd really quick. Is there any, Tom worked with Todd McFarlane on Spawn series in particular. Tell us a bit about that process in the very beginning, and was it something you were or were not familiar with?
Not at all.
Did it float? Nice. Go for it.
He threw me into the deep end of the pool, which was great, and it was a great way to learn. I know, for example, because he's based in the Phoenix area. I don't know if people know that, but it's like Spawn Central is in the Phoenix area, which I had no idea. So I got to go to the office, and he has like a life-size Spawn statue and a Violator over here, and then all the toys. It's a dream. It's so cool. So I'm sitting here in his office pitching my idea. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, Todd. So we're going to introduce this new villain. All right. And it's this guy, and he's wearing a white suit, and he's at a desk, and he's just sitting there like very still. There's nothing on the desk. And as I'm going, he's behind his desk going, no, just shaking his head through the whole thing. And I'm like, so what do you think of that? And he's like, no, there's nothing to look at. I was like, boom. That was my first lesson about comic books.
Humbling right there.
Humbling, but I'll never forget that he said it. There's nothing to look at. And so going into comic books after that, I was like, oh, of course, it's a visual medium. There's got to be something to play with. There's got to be something to see in each of those panels. So that right there was probably a year of art school. Nothing to look at. Yeah. And it's Todd McFarlane. So this stuff is just not even in his blood. It's just his being. He just knows this on such a deep level.
He's going to be protective of that brand.
Oh, so, he was very protective.
Yeah.
See what? Rightfully, I don't blame him.
So he's going, no. Next.
Yeah. But the reason I got to do it was he was specifically looking for somebody who wasn't in comics. And that's how I was able to get in, because it was a different type and style of storytelling at the time that he was, I think, looking for.
Yeah.
So that's how I fell into it. And it was the best job I ever had, though. It was such a good time. And like I said, just learned so much about the medium and how that works. And the other thing I learned, though, is that every artist and team is very different.
Yes.
Like I know there were artists where he would send out maybe a page, like, here, write this. And so his artist would create a book and bring it back, and then he would just fill in the dialogue. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm having an aneurysm. Wow. I can't even comprehend like that level of confidence. Forget about it. Yeah. But I've heard stories that he did that on more than one occasion. Don't quote me, but that's what I heard.
But you said it right. The processes were brand new.
Super new.
And at what point are you like, oh, I've done this a million times. Next, let's keep on going. Or are you just like, guys, I'm new to this situation. Walk me through this.
I spend every day like that. Cool. Walk me through. It's never over is the thing. I'm in a creative writing program right now. And that's one of the things that people don't always grasp is I'll get that question. What are you doing here? I'm learning stuff. Why? What are you doing here? That's what we're
lifelong
all doing.
Learning every time.
Yeah. Yep. And I have learned things in my creative writing classes here that have just left me like blown my mind completely. Oh yeah. Never stops. It never stops. And then there's so many, my thing is I want to tell stories in as many IP as I possibly can. Here's our story. Is it a good novel, short story, comic book, role-playing game, video game, stage play, movie, like as many things as you can possibly think of? Let's do that. Let's cut this thing up.
I really like that. A lot of people will double down on a very specific genre or a very specific thing.
Yeah.
But a story is a story. And if it's a good story, you're absolutely right. I assume it can be applied to just about anything at this point. Yeah.
There is a wisdom to doubling down on one thing, for sure. But that really is more of a marketing thing, I think. And again, if we go back to 12-year-old Tom, who's like, what's next? Whee! Like, I would just as soon jump in and like, you know what, this week I'm working on my novel. Next week, let's go make a movie. And then next week, I've never built a game before. Let's build a game. Let's see what happens. And you meet cooler people.
I was going to say, even 12-year-old PJ, 12-year-old you, never thought video games were even an option to write for. So you got to imagine all the different IPs that show up as you're growing. There's so many different opportunities. So you got to be fluid and just make those stories available.
Yeah.
How do you feel about if you've used a story for one medium, using it for another medium? I'm just thinking out loud here.
No, I try to do it as much as I can.
Do you? Okay.
Like, so Sick, for example, which I've got here today, is a zombie story, basically. High school gets taken over by zombies and the theater kids have to fight them off. So cool setting. That one story so far, I haven't published it yet, but I've got a tabletop game. I've got a comic book. I've got a short story or like novella companion that goes with that. People have asked me about filming it before. Yeah. So like right there, that's 4 pieces of property off of that one story. And I don't see any reason to stop.
Make it available everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Super Mario can use this story. Let's go. Hey, Nintendo.
If Super Mario calls, I'm ready to go.
Donkey Kong, I think, is going to be a slasher game next. So let's talk about it.
That would be super fun.
That'd be great, right?
Donkey Kong.
When does spin-off games happen, I guess? Yeah.
It depends on what, I mean, that's the line has blurred between IP. Yeah, which did come first? Was it the Netflix series or was it the video game or was it the comic book? All that stuff has become, everybody's doing everything.
Yeah, I think about comic stories that are now in public domain.
Oh, for sure.
Winnie the Pooh just came out. So now all these stories that were cool, that you couldn't touch, you can now create really great spin-offs on.
Absolutely. We've been doing it for years with Shakespeare, with fairy tales. People have been doing this for a long time. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff the last 5 or 10 years that has suddenly become available and people are just grabbing up and having their own fun with, for sure. Which, good on them. Have fun.
How it's funny you say even like Shakespeare, that how and fantasy, every story, I don't know how to say this delicately, has been done.
Oh,
they
all
of
have,
the time,
100%.
right?
Yep.
And a lot of the time you can look at your story and go, well, it's got elements of this and it's got elements of that. And at what point as a writer do you, after writing a good story, whether a short story or just story in general, look at it and go, it's really close. I was in the middle of watching this movie and I was influenced by it too much. This goes on a shelf, or I need to redesign it. But have you ever taken a step back and just, people are going to see between the lines on that?
I'm sure I have and don't even know it yet. Like, it hasn't been something that I've paid attention to deliberately. But you're absolutely right that every story's been told. Like every single, like
every song's been written. We've been told.
Yeah, it's
every
chord
progression.
Right?
Literally every chord progression has been changed. It comes down to production. It comes down to just the tones overall.
Voice.
And I feel
Voice.
I feel like that's applicable to writing. Is that
Absolutely.
every story may have been told, but there's these little key elements or this little twist that the production of it that makes it stand out more.
One of my favorite handouts for writing classes is the plot breakdown for the first Star Wars movie, for New Hope. Like, oh yeah, so this orphan kid does this, meets an old man who teaches him the way, and then you take Harry Potter.
Exactly.
Boom. Same story. Same, and that's just one example of many examples. So they all have been told, but they haven't been told by me. And they haven't been told by you. And this song hasn't been done your way. They like cover songs. I'm sure you can probably, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there are songs where it's like the cover I didn't even realize was a cover because that's the one that I like. Oh, that was Metallica? I didn't know that.
Completely.
Wow. It's what you bring to it that makes it yours, I think.
In the world of sampling these days, and this probably applies to writing, but I'm a hip hop guy, so when it comes to sampling in particular, a lot of people just don't even know that those are elements from other. It could be a drum beat, it could be a bass line. Ice Baby, for example, nobody knows that's Queen, right? But when that song comes on, everybody instantly, that's what am I thinking of? What's his name? Ice.
Oh yeah.
That's I can't believe I forgot that. But that's Vanilla Ice. It's like, calm down there. It's Queen. You're literally like, that's my era, jerk. But I think you're right.
Yeah.
As generations change, we now apply ourselves. It's the Harry Potter era of that story versus the Star Wars era of that story.
Exactly.
Right?
I honestly hadn't even thought about it like that, but I think you're right. Yeah, different like generational things. And Harry Potter's already on the wayside now, and so there's probably some new one coming up. Yeah, I think that's a very good, very accurate.
Every 20 years, there's the same story told with different skin.
Different skin, and to varying levels of success. Like, just because it was this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to skyrocket or anything. But I think as long as the fan base is there and that ownership, and we didn't have that either. We had Star Wars and Star Trek, D&D, and whatever music we were listening to, and like that was it. And now with our phones and whatever, it's like you can have this community from all over the literal world.
100%.
And I don't understand it. But watching my children grow up in it is great, and seeing how I think they're skipping the bad parts. Like, we had to live through the really awful parts of the internet, and then it's like starting to smooth out a little bit. It feels like, maybe, I hope
people can set their limitations a little bit more.
They know what they're getting. They're native to it. But I'm trying to imagine if I was 12 now, I would be just eating it up. I would be going crazy, and it would be so great.
I think you hit it right. Is that, by the way, if anybody has any questions, there's more opportunity, especially online now, for somebody to say it's not good. I don't like it because
that is true. But
and then you're like, cool.
Oh, I was running a Facebook ad for my Kickstarter, and one person left a comment on it, and the first line was, "I hate this." I'm like, what, dude? Like, you had nothing, and went on for a paragraph for an advertising. It wasn't even the comic; it was just the ad. Like, you had nothing better to do than leave this. Okay.
But I think you're hitting it on the head. You could have 10,000 awesome comments with that one negative. You're just like,
that's the one.
Who do I need to contact this guy and actually try to convince him that it's a good thing?
Oh yeah.
Right.
We were talking about this on the way up here today. And this is something I try to teach in my classes too, as a writer, is before you head down this road of publication, whether it's independent or traditional or whatever, make sure you're healthy, man, because this is not an industry that treats people well, and it's not an industry in which we treat ourselves well. And so you've got to be as healthy as you can be, or something's going to go wrong. It's happened to me, it's happened to friends, but nobody talks about that part of it, and it's a bummer.
I think a lot of the time people have, it could be their wife, it could be the family, it could be whoever that's holding them accountable. But as a young 12-year-old, 14-year-old, there's nobody really holding you accountable to your writing or your mental health in any way. The negativity you're getting towards your creativity.
Yes, it's hard. It's because it's part of the journey, and it's going to happen. There's one magazine in particular that is just known for ripping into authors, and I've gotten all of them, and they're so rough. But you have to roll with it, because there's nothing you can do, and B, this is part of the profession. And if you want to do this for a living, man, like, you've got to roll with it. But the flip side of that is I guarantee you, somebody out there wants what you make. And you only need 1,000 of them. There's 8 billion people on the planet, something like that. You only need 1,000 of them to be like, I'll pay you $5 for that. Cool. That's a living.
You got it right.
Day,
yeah.
You know?
There's probably a feeling like you have to dominate planet Earth.
No.
And you just need to dominate your small area.
Yes. Your little niche, whatever it is, and own it.
That's probably good advice for anybody here.
It is.
Own your zone.
Yes.
Own your zone.
Own your zone. I like that. Copyright that. Hashtag. Own your zone.
Own your zone. Hey, everybody, own your zone.
Own your zone. Everyone.
If you could.
If you can make time to do that later.
If you could do that'd be great.
But the advent of the technology and where it is now, there's literally no reason to stop you from doing it. If 12-year-old Tom had a video camera in his pocket the way I do right now, I would have made 1,000 movies. Never mind the one that I made with a VHS camera. No, I would have been out there every day cranking out video.
That's a hard balance.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a photographer, but I take 100 photos of a situation, and I find that one that's perfect. It's great, but I can make 99 mistakes.
Oh, for sure.
And I can just double down on the one thing that I post. I'm like, oh, that was the best composed photo ever. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I did some
It was a moment.
It's the same thing. Yeah. How do you take these great pictures? Like, because I took back 15 rolls. That's how.
100%.
Yeah.
Back in our day, we'd have to like click 24 and develop, and maybe they turned out, maybe they didn't.
But the anticipation.
Yeah.
How are they going to look?
So is it like, when it comes to writing, is it like, I don't know, just write as many as you can? Just like photography, write 100 stories and maybe one is cool, and be okay with 99 just being okay that you need to polish up later on.
So I would say, for me, yes, no word is ever wasted. That's the first thing. Just no shot from your camera is ever wasted. Right? Not everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I literally delete the other 99.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh no, I would go crazy.
It's terrible.
It's
anyway,
like,
sorry.
No, it's like pulling teeth. I have to keep everything because you don't know.
That's Tanya. That's my wife. Yeah.
But some people can't bring themselves to that, and they'll work on that book for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And this happens to a lot of younger writers too that I've met, where they will spend, particularly like junior high school, and they'll write a series, let's say, epic fantasy series. Cool, good for you. And now you've polished it and it's good to go, and you go out and try to sell it. And all the agents are going to say no, because that's what agents do. But then there's this one agent who says, no, but I like your voice. What else you got?
That's it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to show you, because I've spent the last 6 years on this one thing. So my advice is, yes, write as much, create music, film, whatever, as much as you can, because the market will tell you. That's the thing. They will let you know.
As a musician and a songwriter, I've got sessions and sessions of just licks, just ideas, just a lyrical idea. It could be a guitar lick, it could be a drum beat, it could be anything.
Someday.
And maybe that's applicable. Is you may not necessarily write a whole story, but if you're just writing premises, if you're writing conceptual things and just storing it away, Have you found over any amount of time methods to this madness? Are you able to, is there apps that you can use? Is there organizational methods? I talk a lot about my wife, but her favorite place on earth is Staples. And whenever we go to Staples, she's binders and organizers.
Yes. Oh, it's just the office supply store.
Yes. Office Depot.
It's a thing.
Loves it. She absolutely loves it. Any binder clips or anything, she just loves it. But it all comes down to the fact that she's very organized. This guy is not, because I rely on hers. But is there an organizational method that you can suggest to get your ideas down?
There isn't, because everybody works differently. I do find myself using online, I'll use the site called Trello.com.
I use Trello nonstop.
Trello saved my life. I can't find anything, but it's there.
Yeah, I've got multiple boards. If you're not familiar with Trello, Trello is a brilliant way of just organizing ideas. We use it with the Retrologists to organize absolutely every one of our live streams that we do. All of our assets go in there, all of our guest lists, our invite, everything goes in there. But Trello, brilliant.
Trello's great. So I do use Trello, but then for me on a personal level, I use my phone mostly for voice notes and auto transcribers, just to get down like little bits of dialogue or ideas or theories or whatever that I'll then automatically transcribe, which is handy, and then import into Trello for later.
Yeah.
And then I've got several just Word docs. I mostly just work in Word, and I've got a 60 or 70 page document somewhere out there that has stuff from 20 years ago.
Yes.
That may or may not end up in a story, but sometimes it does.
Yeah.
And so I can't get rid of that kind of stuff, but
you go back to 12-year-old Tom, you're like, oh my God, that story was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I've got one called The Moon Daemon. I can't wait to write The Moon Daemon again.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't have specific recommendations, because I would trust the artist to try different things and to see what works for them.
Yes.
Like, I try to be as organized as your wife is. I'm not, but I know where everything is. Like, I can get to it.
Full disclosure, she's organized. The organizational methods are great. It's getting the content in that organization.
That is hard.
That is the hard part. Once you've got the binder, it's finding the inspiration to put the pages in the binder. Yeah. And I think that's the challenge that maybe we're talking about. Anybody can have their methods to keeping it, but how do you, when you have an idea, are you just literally, oh, sorry, ma'am, I'll buy those bananas in a second?
Yes.
And then you're like talking into your phone. Or are you like, I got to remember that 5 minutes from now, or I got to remember.
I will now, because if I don't, my first novel, Party, came out in 2010. Yeah. And the only reason Party came out is because my wife and I were on our honeymoon. We were leaving Santa Barbara, California, and we're just tooling around. And then I, out of nowhere, shout, "Write this down!" And because she's so lovely, she's on it. She has a pad of paper and a pencil, which she carries with her everywhere when we're together, because she knows this is how it happens. Yeah. And I narrated to her a paragraph, and she's okay, writes it down, and she's, "What else?" I'm like, "Oh, that's it. That's it. Thank you." And she's okay.
Anyways, what do you want from McDonald's?
Yeah. And then 5 or 6 years later, there was a girl's name. Going back to the library, I was at the checkout desk, and I saw this girl's name. It was Beckett. And I'd never seen that name before. I was like, that's a really badass name for a girl. So I wrote it down and kept it for decades. And then after we had this paragraph, I was like, wait, this paragraph, Beckett, oh my God, there's a character. And then that just spiraled into writing the book. And if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't said, "Write this down," I don't think that book ever would have happened.
I love that you remember that
exact moment. No
question.
Like,
oh, what did I marry? I don't.
Yep.
Okay, what's going on here?
We took a little vacation a couple years ago to a little artist colony called Bisbee, Arizona. If you've ever heard of Bisbee.
No.
And it was just the two of us, so we're just tooling around. And it's a former copper mining town.
Cool.
That was shut down however long ago. And then the artists moved in and took over. And so there's all these
like artists, like painters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
And they took over all these little shacks up and down the mountain in this valley, and they painted them crazy colors and all this kind of stuff. And we're just walking around real quiet, and she does this. She's like, "You just wrote something, didn't you?" I'm like, "You don't know me."
Love.
I totally wrote a thing.
Can I get your attention, please? You are texting too many people. Oh, no, I see what you're doing. Okay, great.
Yes.
That's a hard one too, right?
It's super important. And I'm glad you mentioned your wife, because that's another thing people don't talk about, is having partners, whether that's friends or family, spouses, whatever, who, even if they don't get it, are on board. Yeah. Because I know people who don't have that, and it's traumatizing. But to have somebody who is, "No, I got your back. I have no idea what you're doing, but I got you. Yeah, I'm there."
Totally.
And I support this 100%. And Particularly, it's more a thing I think with younger people because they have parents like, that's not going to get you. You need to be a doctor or a lawyer, whatever. And like,
Yep.
Okay, but you can still color. It's okay, but you can still make videos or write stories and be a doctor or whatever.
Yep.
That always, when I encounter that at schools, for example, that just crushes me, breaks my heart when students inevitably come up and they're like, I want to be a newscaster. This is a true story.
Yeah,
I had a girl came up to me after a school visit and she's like, oh, I wanted to be a writer, but my mom said I suck. I was like, no, she didn't. And no, I handed it to her and she read it and said, wow, you suck. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I have endless reams of those stories that I get from students. And every time I'm like, do you have her number? Let's call her. We need to work this out right now.
Yeah.
I had a girl who wanted to be a newscaster and oh my God, I can't even believe I'm saying this. She wanted to be a newscaster and her father said she didn't, I'll put it more kindly than she did. She wasn't attractive enough. Like, you said that to your kid. We need to have a chat, sir.
Big time.
About that. Like, that drives me crazy. So my driving force in the universe is to that doesn't matter the age, but specifically younger people still like, don't listen to that stuff, man.
Sorry, you're hitting a super soft spot with me.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I work at Wentworth Music. I work at Wentworth Music in Kelowna, and everybody there knows that I'm the guy that loves hanging out with the kid, like getting the kids excited about instruments. And if you've never played a musical instrument, I'm the guy first. I couldn't remember any of the parents, but I know every kid that comes in. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. But I have a thing where I love telling kids how horrible they're going to be at the instrument.
Yeah.
I say right away, you're buying a drum kit, you're going to be horrible at it. The best thing about being horrible right now is every step gets you towards getting awesome at it.
Yeah.
So the moment that you can put the weight on somebody that they're not expected to be amazing right now.
Yeah, for sure.
That you're going to be horrible. You've never played flute before and you're 8 years old. You are literally going to suck at this instrument. Now. But you're going to be so good if you practice. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a stigma, especially with musical instruments or maybe even writing, that when you sit behind the typewriter or you sit behind a drum kit or play guitar, you have to play a song. You just have to, I know Nirvana, I want to play this chord, I want to play this song, I want to play this drum beat. But kids at the age of 3, at the age of 8, just sit behind the instrument and make noise. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of noise. Sorry, you got me on a bit of a rant. No. I love noise.
Noise is good.
So much. I'm a big fan of noise. So when it comes to writing, I feel like in that 3 to 12-year-old, it's just, you're putting noise on paper and it's such beautiful noise. Does that kind of resonate?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because it's not, I do that now.
Yeah.
I'm not 3 anymore.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, just getting it out, man.
Part of my pitch is it's noise until it's music. And then once you are professional at making music, you understand how to make noise again.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. Yeah.
And so I think that's what you're saying there.
Yeah, because we run into that in classes where I'll be talking about a certain tactic or style or something for writing. And inevitably, so but so-and-so did it like this. Yeah, but so-and-so's been doing it for 50 years. So-and-so knows how to do it. Yeah. We need to start back here and we'll work our way through it. Like, you still need to punctuate. So let's get that right. And then we'll move on.
Rules.
Then you can start not punctuating correctly and it's okay. But I think it's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The crossover between all of those pursuits, I think, is endless, really.
There's that stigma of being perfect or being right out the gate.
Yes.
And give yourself permission to suck.
You have to.
Yeah. Now, somebody else can't tell you that you do suck at it.
No.
That's a whole other.
That's a very different thing.
To harken back to what you were saying before, the onus is on other people to go, that has the potential of being amazing, and how can I help, or how can we make that awesome? Yeah. But just to say, no, you should become an accountant.
No, and unless you want to. And that's my other thing I tell people, listen, don't do this because somebody else, because it doesn't happen as much, but the flip side is, particularly with parents who come in and say, you need to be an actor, or you need to be this, or whatever.
Everybody in the family is a firefighter. Right. You must be a firefighter now.
But I really want to be an accountant.
Yes.
I want to be an accountant. There's nothing, my thing, I don't try to preach this idea of everybody needs to go write a novel. Maybe you don't. If that's not the thing that excites you, then don't.
Yeah.
And for God's sake, don't waste time forcing it. If you're like golf, I don't care about golf. If that's your thing, go do that. For heaven's sake.
Not my thing.
Not my
but
thing.
Same deal.
Yeah.
The attractiveness to just passion.
Yes, whatever it is. Whatever it is, go do it.
What time is it?
I don't know.
Oh, we're almost done here in a couple minutes. But I do want to hit the hot topic.
Oh.
Not the place hot topic.
Oh, that's too bad. I love hot
Which I have to admit, is anybody still going to Hot Topic a lot? Nice. Okay, good. Okay. Oh my God. Just seemed like it's all supernatural stuff.
Yeah, it depends, but yeah.
Okay. The hot topic I'm thinking about in particular is good old ChatGPT.
Oh, good night, everybody.
Yep. As a guy that uses ChatGPT often for marketing purposes, for creating copy for social media, for all that stuff, it's invaluable. It's amazing. But married to a writer, what I'll do is I'll just say, oh, what's your premise? Sounds good. Here's a story right here. I'm not going to show it to you, obviously, but just so you know, this wrote actually a really good story.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and I'll let you respond to it. When you know how you said Beckett, there was a name that kind of jumped out at you. We did use it recently as a tool, just looking for Japanese name under these premise would be in the 1700s. Like we gave the premise and it gave us a great backstory on a whole bunch of potential names based on all these variables. And it was a great tool to use in that case, right?
Yes,
how do you feel about any of that?
I have used it for that exact purpose. I needed some Japanese names
Yes.
for a very specific era, and I did. So I've done that prompt.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
I had some
That's
good, I had
awesome.
some great results.
Yeah.
I am not afraid of it. Number one.
Great.
I don't fear it the way some people do, and nor will I tell them to not. I'm not an evangelist for it or opposed to it. So I try to stay out of it. We'll do it now because we're live. But yeah, I'm not as afraid of it because I think it goes back to that whole, but this is my group. And you know what ChatGPT is never going to do? Hang out at that table in there and talk to you and sign your book.
Agreed.
Ever. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on how T2 do we want to get.
Yeah, 100%.
But I have used, and frankly, I want to learn to use it more for those exact reasons you're talking about, because I've played with it and come up with some decent outlines for things like, okay, that might actually work.
Yes.
Names, that kind of stuff. I don't use it for research at all. We're not quite there yet.
Yes.
I used it to look up myself. Didn't do that or that.
Amazing.
So that's wrong.
Total write-off. Yes.
But yeah, for marketing purposes, I think it can be useful for that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of, particularly artists, I think, if you want to go into the Mid-Journey thing, who are very opposed and upset, and I respect that. 100% respect that. I also want to ask them how many of my books they've downloaded off of torrent.
Agreed.
So there's that. But I don't think it's going to destroy the world or anything like that. I also don't think that it's going to start churning out War and Peace or whatever, and people are going to go buy that. I mean, it can, but ultimately, I don't think it's going to be able to replace this human thing. I think there was this is slightly off the topic, but I think was it Iron Maiden, I want to say, years ago, when all the music downloading stuff was happening, Napster and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, right.
It was Lars Metallica.
Yeah, so all that was happening. And if I'm pretty sure it was Iron Maiden, but the music industry was in an uproar. Oh my God, they're stealing our music. Iron Maiden said, who's downloading it? Where? That country? How many more did they do versus this place?
Perfect.
And then they went and did a concert.
Yep.
And everybody showed up, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
They capitalized on it, number one, which is brilliant.
Yep.
Number two, I still want to see them.
Yeah.
I want to be in the front row, who like Lars or whoever is doing their thing and just say that I was there. That's an event. You cannot ChatGPT an event ever. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about it.
As a tool, I really love that you're using it as a
very
tool.
Valuable.
Yeah, most definitely.
Can be used for a lot of good
everybody's
stuff.
using it, so yes to all that.
Yeah, and it's out of the barn.
Yeah.
You're not putting this genie back in the bottle. I'm sorry.
No, I couldn't agree more.
You cannot do it. So
let's wind it down here, as we say in our live stream. We're in wind down, guys. Is there any questions for Tom Leveen? Any questions about writing?
Oh, yeah. While people are thinking about that, we'll be doing a panel tomorrow.
Yes.
Publishing panel tomorrow at 12. I don't remember when exactly.
That's fine.
But I'll be doing that. I don't know if that's here at the main stage or if it's in a room or just what, but I've definitely got a writing and publishing panel for people interested in that.
Actually, I'm not sure where it is, but we'll be announcing stuff.
But it's here. It's here tomorrow That's the
Publishing
point.
right there.
There we go.
What no one tells you about publishing until it's too late.
Yes.
And you're a part of that, are you?
That's me. That's just me.
Oh, that's just you. So that's
Yep.
panel room number 7 tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Okay, cool.
2 o'clock.
So that's a great opportunity for anybody interested in really any kind of genre or format of writing.
Yeah.
And it's really more of an open, like I'll just start talking and then take questions and we'll figure out like what individual people need to move forward in their careers. So it'll be a good time.
The business is the hardest part about it. The writing, great. Being a musician, cool.
Yeah.
But now that I have this product, what the hell do I do with it?
Yep. That is not the fun part.
And you got the answers.
Hope so.
You got some answers.
I got some answers. Yeah.
What are you doing right now that you can leave everybody away with, and then everybody go to Tom's booth?
I'm in a booth here against the wall. I've got some zombies for sale. I've got some very nerdy other things for sale over there. Really, lots of really great reading. And then my son and I are actually working on a story called Survival Dogs, which we haven't written yet.
Yeah.
But we've got some cool art for it. And
Are you doing the art? You're not doing the art.
No, God.
I'm just joking.
No, it's much cooler than that.
Yeah.
And we're inviting people to go to the website and sign up for the newsletter and contribute ideas and stuff like that so we can collaborate on this story. So we've got some swag over there for that as well. It's pretty cool.
Great. And last but not least, you've got a Kickstarter happening.
Kickstarter. Yep. That's for it's right here, Exorcists, in which a makeshift family is tasked with conducting a global exorcism to try and solve a global demonic possession apocalypse that has just happened. So it's a lot of fun. That's live right now on Kickstarter.
Sounds like Harry Potter.
It sounds like Star Wars
rewritten.
to me. Same old, whatever.
Ugh. Tom, you're awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
Thank you.